Formula One has Max Verstappen. Football has Johan Cruyff. But in the world of motocross, there is one man, fast, fearless, and born to win. His name is Jeffrey Herlings. Jeffrey Herlings, born September 12, 1994, in the Netherlands, a name that has become synonymous with excellence in the world of motocross. Since his debut in 2010, he has evolved into one of the most successful and respected riders in the history of the sport. With an unmatched track record and a character that never gives up, he has turned the motocross world on its head. Chapter 1: Youth and Early Dominance. The year was 2008. Jeffrey Herlings was just 14 years old when he first announced his arrival on the global stage. At an age when most teenagers are worried about school exams, Herlings was conquering the world. He won the 85cc FIM Junior Motocross World Championship and the European title in the same class. This wasn't beginner's luck. This was the birth of a legend. The following year, still just 15, he finished second in the European 250cc class and third in the Dutch MX2 Open Championship. The international motorsport world was starting to take notice. Here was a young Dutch rider with something special, a combination of raw speed, tactical intelligence, and an unshakable determination that would define his entire career. Chapter 2: The MX2 Dynasty. 2012 marked the beginning of Jeffrey Herlings' assault on the record books. At just 17 years old, an age when most riders are still learning their craft, Herlings claimed his first world championship in the MX2 class. But this was no flash in the pan. In 2013, he repeated that success with a second title, proving that his first championship was no accident. His speed was breathtaking, his precision surgical, and his fearlessness absolute. He had become a young champion that the motocross world couldn't ignore. But the real statement came in 2016 when he secured his third MX2 world title. This wasn't just about winning anymore. This was about dominance. Herlings had established himself as the king of the MX2 class, a testament to his consistency and his relentless pursuit of perfection. Chapter 3: The MXGP Challenge. 2017 represented the ultimate test for Jeffrey Herlings. The transition to the prestigious MXGP class, the premier division of motocross. This is where careers are made or broken, where the world's elite riders separate themselves from the merely talented. His debut year was promising, but the motocross world was watching, waiting to see if this young Dutchman could compete with the established giants of the sport. Little did they know that Herlings wasn't just planning to compete. He was planning to conquer. Chapter 4: The Day America Met the Bullet. August 2017. Crawfordsville, Indiana, the Ironman National. This was supposed to be American motocross at its finest. Home soil, home heroes, and home advantage. Eli Tomac, the American champion and local favorite, was ready to prove that America produced the world's best riders. But Jeffrey Herlings had other plans. In his first ever American race, on unfamiliar terrain, against riders who had spent their entire careers mastering these tracks, Herlings was about to deliver one of the most stunning performances in motocross history. Moto 1. The gate dropped, and Herlings seized control with the precision of a surgeon and the aggression of a warrior. He grabbed the lead and began to pull away from the field. Gap by gap, second by second, he built an insurmountable advantage. When the checkered flag fell, he had left Eli Tomac, the American hero, 16 seconds in his wake. The crowd was stunned. The commentators were reaching for superlatives they'd never had to use before, but Herlings wasn't finished. Moto2 was even more impressive. In the first few corners, he crashed his bike, which put him in last place. No rider was ever able to come back from last place in the modern era of motocross, let alone on unfamiliar terrain. But then something magical happens. He rode with a level of perfection that left the competition demoralized. No mistakes, no hesitation, no mercy. A perfect sweep on a circuit he'd never seen before, against riders who called it home. The commentators could barely believe what they were witnessing. American fans, seeing this Dutch rider for the first time, stood in awe. Herlings hadn't just won, he had announced to the world that he was operating on a different level entirely. Even Eli Tomac, the man who was supposed to be America's answer to European dominance, had to acknowledge the obvious. He was on another level today. This wasn't just a victory. This was a declaration. Jeffrey Herlings wasn't just a European phenomenon. He was a global force of nature. Chapter 5. The 2018 Masterpiece. If 2017 was Herlings' introduction to MXGP greatness, then 2018 was his masterclass in dominance. This was the year when Jeffrey Herlings didn't just break through in the MXGP class, he obliterated it. 17 victories out of 19 races. Let that sink in. In a sport where consistency is king and perfection is nearly impossible, Herlings came as close to flawless as any rider in history. His 2 non-victories, both second-place finishes. With this devastating display of speed and consistency, he claimed his first MXGP world title and set a new record for the most GP victories in a single season. The motocross world had witnessed something unprecedented, a rider who had redefined what was possible in the sport. Chapter 6. Adversity and Resilience, 2019. But greatness isn't just measured in victories, it's measured in how champions respond to adversity. 2019 would test Jeffrey Herlings in ways that pure speed couldn't solve. A foot injury kept him out of the first 7 races of the season. For any rider, missing nearly half a season would spell the end of title hopes. But Herlings isn't any rider. During a race in Latvia, disaster struck again. He broke his right ankle, an injury that would have ended most riders' seasons and possibly their careers. The defending world champion was watching his title defense crumble from a hospital bed. But champions are defined not by their falls, but by how they rise. Herlings returned for the final races of the season and promptly won 2 of the last 3. Injured, understandably rusty, and with nothing left to prove that season, he still couldn't resist the urge to win. It was a display of determination and resilience that reminded everyone why he had reached the top of the sport. Chapter 7. National Glory, Motocross of Nations. Later that year, Jeffrey Herlings achieved something that transcended individual glory. Leading the Dutch team at the Motocross of Nations, he delivered his country its first victory in this prestigious event in 73 years. This wasn't just about personal achievement anymore. This was about national pride, about carrying the hopes and dreams of an entire nation. And when the pressure was at its highest, when history was waiting to be made, Jeffrey Herlings delivered. The victory was a testament to his leadership, his class, and his ability to perform when it mattered most. Chapter 8. Triumph and Tragedy. 2020 began like a fairy tale for Jeffrey Herlings. He dominated the opening 6 rounds, winning 4 of the first 6 races. He seemed destined for another world championship, back to his devastating best. But fate had other plans. During a training session in Città di Faenza, Italy, disaster struck with terrifying suddenness. Herlings crashed heavily and lay motionless for nearly 30 agonizing minutes. For those terrifying moments, the entire motocross world held its breath, fearing the worst. It was a moment that put everything into perspective, reminding everyone that behind the superhuman performances and record-breaking achievements was a human being pushing the absolute limits of what's physically possible. After a long rehabilitation period, Herlings made the difficult decision to end his season early, focusing entirely on his recovery. But those who knew him understood that this wasn't surrender, this was strategic retreat. He would return, and he would return stronger. Chapter 9. The Ultimate Comeback. And return he did. 2021 would go down as one of the most remarkable comeback stories in sports history. Despite dealing with a foot injury and a broken shoulder blade, injuries that would sideline most athletes, Jeffrey Herlings fought through one of the most intense championship battles in MXGP history. He missed the Czech GP, but what followed was pure Herlings magic. 9 GP victories, 15 race wins, and 14 podium finishes. These weren't just numbers, they were statements of intent from a champion refusing to be denied. The title fight came down to the wire. Herlings and Romain Fevre were separated by just 3 points heading into the final rounds. The tension was unbearable, the pressure immense. But when champions are tested, they respond. At Mantova, Italy, with the world watching and the championship on the line, Jeffrey Herlings delivered a performance for the ages. He won both motos, clinching his 5th world title and his 99th GP victory. This victory was about more than statistics. It was proof of his resilience, his determination, and his unstoppable drive to win. He had faced adversity that would have broken lesser riders, and he had emerged stronger than ever. Chapter 10. Rest and Reflection. 2022 was a year of wisdom for Jeffrey Herlings. After the physical and emotional toll of his injuries and comeback, he made the mature decision to take a complete break from racing. Even passing up opportunities to race in AMA Pro Motocross, he focused entirely on healing, both physically and mentally. It was a year that reminded everyone that even champions are human, that sometimes the greatest strength is knowing when to rest, when to recover, when to prepare for the battles ahead. Chapter 11. Making history. But Jeffrey Herlings wasn't finished making history. 2023 would see him achieve something that many thought impossible. During Round 5 in Agueda, Portugal, Herlings claimed his 101st GP victory, equaling the legendary Stefan Everts's all-time record. The motocross world stood in awe as they witnessed history in the making. But Herlings wasn't content with equality. At the very next GP in Spain, he broke that record with his 102nd victory, an unprecedented achievement in the history of the sport. He had officially become the most successful GP winner in motocross history. Tragically, his season was cut short during a race in Germany, where he crashed and fractured his C5 vertebra. Later, in Arnhem, he suffered a broken collarbone. Once again, his championship aspirations were derailed by injury. But by now, the motocross world understood that setbacks only made Jeffrey Herlings more dangerous. Chapter 12. The 2024 Renaissance. The season started slowly. In the first 5 rounds, he managed just 1 podium finish, leading some to wonder if the injuries had finally taken their toll on the legendary rider. But those doubters had forgotten who they were dealing with. From round 6 to the end of the season, Herlings achieved 14 podium finishes, including victories in rounds 9, 12, 14, and 16. It was a reminder that writing off Geoffrey Herlings is done at one's own peril. He finished third in the World Championship, a result that any other rider would consider the pinnacle of their career. But for Herlings, represented a platform for future success. Additionally, he claimed national titles in both the British and Dutch motocross championships, proving that his hunger for victory remained as strong as ever. Epilogue: The Eternal Champion. Geoffrey Herlings is more than just a motocross rider. He's a force of nature. With over 100 GP victories, 5 world titles, and a career that has redefined what's possible in motocross, he has earned his place among the greatest athletes in any sport. But perhaps his greatest achievement isn't found in his trophy case. It's in his ability to rise from every setback stronger than before. Every injury that should have ended his career only seemed to fuel his determination. Every defeat only made his eventual victories more meaningful. From that 14-year-old kid winning his first world championship to the seasoned veteran still chasing perfection, Geoffrey Herlings has shown us what it means to never give up, to never settle, to never stop pushing the boundaries of what's possible. In a sport where riders are measured by their ability to conquer fear, Geoffrey Herlings conquered something even greater. He conquered doubt, his own and everyone else's. The boy from the Netherlands, who became the Bullet, has written his name in motocross history with letters of steel and spirit. And as long as there are gates to drop and championships to chase, the legend of Geoffrey Herlings will continue to inspire the next generation of riders to reach for greatness. Because in the end, Geoffrey Herlings didn't just master motocross, he redefined what mastery looks like.